Hi there, welcome to Drawing with Steffi. Got a new idea we're going to try today. We are going to do an anime cat girl. As usual, I am using a program called Paint Tool Sci, and I am using a digital graphics tablet as a Wacom Intuos Pro or Intuos 5. But you can use just a piece of paper, of course. It's just easier to record it this way and easier for you to see what I'm doing if I use the computer. So let's get started. Something you want to consider before you even start drawing is what kind of face you want to have, especially the eyes. Anime characters can have pretty different faces, and we're going to do a cute one instead of a sly one. So she'll have really big round eyes, but we're going to start with just the general shape of the head here. And she's not going to be chibi, she's not going to be super deformed. But we are going to make her kind of cute. And as usual, you just use shapes to build up the form. We're going to have her sitting down. And sometimes I don't use like official shapes like just squares or circles or whatever. Sometimes just generic shapes that'll fit the body. But sometimes just real shapes with like circles and squares work just fine. It's just whatever you feel like doing. There's not just one way to draw something. Let's see, let's have her holding a big ball of yarn. That'll be cute. Alright, so there's our basic shape here. Let's give her some wild hair. We'll stick one ear there. And of course the all-important tail. We'll make it foofy. Alright, so we have our basic shape there. Let me give us a little bit more room. It's another great reason to use digital products. It's easier to make changes. And I'm going to lighten the opacity here so we can start doing some more details. And if you're using just a piece of paper, all you have to do is make sure you draw real light. And change colors here so you can see what I'm doing a little bit better. For those of you who have asked, the brushes I use in Sci are just some of the basic ones. It's just like the watercolor brush or the brush set to a medium dilution. Nothing too special. But let's start with the eyes here. And just kind of make a upside down U sort of shape. I'm going to give her lots of eyelashes here. And as I said before, there are lots and lots of ways to draw eyes in anime. One of the things you can do is just look at some of your favorite mangas or favorite series and see how they draw the characters' faces and their eyes, and pay attention to what the character, what their personality's like, what sort of job they have, or what their archetype is in the story, and that kind of gives you an idea of what sort of eyes you should give them. I'm just going to make some quick eyelashes here. I'm going to redraw them again later. We just want to get the basics in here. We're going to give her some small little eyebrows. And most anime cat girls seem to still have human noses, so we're just going to give her a human nose. Nice, huge eyes. And I'm going to give her human pupils, because she's extra friendly and sweet. We don't want her to be too sly. we are going to give her some fangs. And they tend to have pretty tiny chins. Kind of big foreheads. Here we go. I think I'm going to move her nose up a little higher. Again, if you're not doing this digitally, that's okay. Just remember to draw lightly. So that way, if you do make a mistake, it's easy to fix. You can just erase it, redraw it. Put in some highlights. We'll add those in more later. And we're going to give her big ol' ears. I think we're going to put some tufts on them too, because tufts are cute. Kind of like a lynx. And this one's going to be a little sideways. Give her a little bit more cute expression. A little bit of hair in her ears. I'm not going to put any in the other ear because it's going to be covered up by hair a lot. And just a little bit of a neck. Make it pretty thin. And we're going to give her a little bit of a collar and then put a huge bell on it. A lot of anime likes to simplify and make things extra big. It just adds to the cute factor. There we go. They don't usually have fur either, so except for on the animal parts. And sometimes they wear gloves, but I'm not going to do that. And I'm just going to slowly work in the hands here. I'm just going to give her 3 fingers though. Again, don't worry about making it too perfect. We're still refining the figure and everything. A little bit of an elbow in there. And just her fingers from the other side. And add in the ball of yarn. And yarn usually gets wrapped around from different directions. It's not all one way. Again, don't put a whole bunch of detail in it yet. We're still sketchy. And we're going to give her a cute little dress with some ruffles, because ruffles are fun. And the rest gets kind of hidden up, but I'm going to bring it out over here so you can see where the edge of the dress comes in. I'm going to give it a little bit of a belt. And some of the folds. Then draw in where the pleats come from. There we go. And draw in the knees. And again, you don't have to stick straight to your original sketch lines. Refine it as you go along. I'm going to erase that there. Bring this in a little bit better. Alright, there we go. So we want to make sure that the leg has the ability to come around. Want to watch things for the overlapping. Don't want to make her feet too big though. We're going to make her barefoot though. See a little bit of the toe on the other side. And then we're going to erase this, so it's not going to be seen thanks to the tail. But that's another good reason why to draw things really lightly, because sometimes it's helpful to draw the whole body and just erase things you don't end up needing. There we go. I'm going to go back to add in the funky hair here. I'm going to make another layer, so if I mess up, it's easier to clean it up. Now we're going to draw in her bangs first. Make them nice and wild here. And then the back of her hair. There we go. And sometimes they make a little bit of a ruff along the sides. There we go. To cover up where the human ears would be. Right, so I'm going to save here, because you always want to save your work often. Let's see. Helps to put it in the correct directory. Let's see. Because you never know when you're going to lose power or something's going to die. So save often. Alright, something else that you want to do when you're drawing, and it doesn't even matter if you have a computer or not, is to flip your drawing. It's a great way to tell if something needs changing, if it looks a little off. People have been doing this for years. Sometimes they just use a mirror, or you can use a light table if you have one. You can get them real cheap at Michael's craft stores or Dick Blick. You can get the lap versions. You don't have to get a full out table, or you can just use like a sliding glass door when it's sunny out. But that looks pretty good. I think her arm is a little bit too big, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase a little bit of it. And I'm going to move it up a little. There we go. But otherwise, I think it looks pretty good. I'm happy with it. So again, I'm going to refine it some more. So I'm going to lighten it up here. And I'm going to start with her eyes. And make them look a little neater. Do a little bit of the pinched part of the eye here. And then I'm going to bring it all the way up. And when I'm drawing the cute girl, I like to keep the kind of eyelash, the top of the eyelash, or the top of the eyelid, nice and sketchy. It just adds to the style. It's, you know, super, super hyper cute. I'll make sure they're both about the same size though. And I'm not going to draw a whole lot to the bottom of the eye. I'm going to add a little pinch there. Make sure they're about the same place. Alright, and I'm going to zoom in here a little bit better so I have a little bit more control. Oh, in case you're wondering, I usually work on a canvas size that's 300 dpi to 600 dpi on a canvas of 8.5 by 11. Eyelashes can sometimes be hard. You don't want to do too many. Just play around with it until it looks good. Sometimes you want to put some on the other side too. I think I'm going to add some on this side too to make her extra cute. There we go. And you kind of want to angle them. Sometimes I end up doing this a couple times before I'm happy with it. Zoom out, look how that is. Not really happy with that. See, this is why I did it on an extra layer. That way, if you mess up and you're not happy with it, you can keep playing with it without having to redraw the whole thing all over again. Sometimes it's a matter of just not making them too far away from the eye. And sometimes I like making a little bit of a, I don't really want to call it a webbing, but for lack of better terminology, that can sometimes give it a good look. There we go. Yeah, I think I like that. Yeah, that's better. And we'll do the same on this side. And you don't have to make sure that they're even number of lashes, but sometimes that can help. But one of my favorite things to do when I'm using a program like Sai is to flip the drawing around. Sometimes it's easier to draw in a certain direction. One of the things I do when I have a piece of paper is I actually flip it around. I know some people like to have it straight and they never turn it ever, but really there's nothing wrong with moving your paper around to get it into a better position so you can, your arm and wrist can reach it a little bit better. There we go. Oops. Give it a little bit of a eyelid there. Whoops. I'll not flip this around too much more on you guys, because I know some of you all are just using paper. All right, let's add in her eyebrow. I'm going to end up erasing most of this other one because it's technically under hair. So you probably wouldn't really actually see much of it, but we're going to draw it in there just so it looks even for the moment. I'm going to bring this eyelash down a little bit further so it's a little bit more even with the other side. There we go. And do her cute little nose. And I'm going to go on another layer just so it's easier to move things around if I mess up. A lot of times you don't see the lips drawn on anime characters. It just kind of depends on the style you're going for. And sometimes it's just colored in instead of drawn in. Just depends on what you want to do. I'm going to give her a little bit of a bottom lip. And of course those big ol' silly toony teeth. Make that line a little neater. And draw a little bit of her tongue in there too. There we go. Alright, let's add in, I think I'm going to scoot that over actually first. Alrighty. Let's add in her eyes. And this is where you want to be real careful and make sure they're even on either side, so they both have about the same amount of thickness for the iris. There you go. And then draw in the pupil. Now, how the pupil is drawn varies a lot, again, depending upon the type of character you're drawing, just the style. So, take a look at the different styles out there. And then I'm going to add in highlight here. Sometimes they have lots of highlights, again, depending upon the style you're going for and the type of the character. Add another one in there. Erase a little bit of the pupil because we want it super cute. There we go. Alright, we're going to add in the lines to the face. There we go. Alright, let's add in her ears again. And add in those tufts. I was looking at pictures of Maine Coon cats last night and I was like, oh, those ears are so adorable. I want to draw a character with lynx ears. So we're going to add those in. And then add in the other side. But we're not going to draw the line all the way in because the hair gets in the way. And I'm going to use a different color here so you can see what I'm doing a little bit better. Let's try some red. That way we can see where we need to erase. Sometimes I've noticed in animes that if the hair goes across the eye, they just leave it there. They don't erase some of it. That, again, totally up to you. It's just sometimes when you erase it, it's harder to see the expressions on their face. So just something to play around with to see what you decide you like. And add in the back of the hair here. You don't want to add in too much detail to the hair. Hair is generally pretty stylized when it comes to anime. I want to focus on the basic overall volume and shape of it versus every little lock. Oops. I'm going to squish my layers together here. Let's see. To erase or not to erase? Let's see. This is what the undo button is good for. I think I like it that way. We're going to go for the more realistic version where you don't see all the eye. Alrighty. Let's add in some inner ear hair. That's something else you can really play around with. Sometimes I've seen people draw it coming out of the ear, like on Cabot's. Let's draw the bell. You want to remember what shapes look like when they're turned certain ways. Oops. Let's zoom in here so it's a little bit easier to draw. And if you guys have suggestions for other topics, please leave me a message here on YouTube, or you can email me. You can send me a note or comment on my galleries at DeviantArt. I love to get suggestions. And of course, I do have a Patreon now. If you'd like to get all sorts of nifty downloadable art and tutorials and extra nifty things, I have that available. I'll put a link down in the comments section, the description area. And let's see, let's put the top of her shirt here. A little bit of a chest. And then her shoulder. But my patrons can vote on tutorials and all sorts of other things. So if you'd like to help support more tutorials, please check it out. I'd appreciate it. And of course, you get lots of nifty stuff. And let's see here. Let's add in the belt. I'm going to scoot it over because it's a little askew. There we go. I'm going to redraw how I got the hand. There we go. Give her some claws. Because what's an anime cat girl without claws? I'm going to scoot this over too a little bit. I want to make sure that the fingers are the same on each side. I think I'm going to make her shoulders a little less pronounced here. So again, why it's good to draw lightly. There we go. Oops. There we go. And sorry, I'm going to stop flipping around. I got so used to being able to do that, it's hard not to now. It just makes drawing so much easier when you can manipulate the canvas like that. And you want to remember to keep the pleating nice and light. And do her, whoops, do the knees. Okay, and then we're going to add in the tail. I really like how this one's turning out. I will make sure to add a file that y'all can download on Patreon, so you can have something to kind of look at. And if you want, you can color it. Alright, let's zoom back in here so we can do the foot. And most of it's covered up by the tail, so you don't have to do too much detail there. Alright, let's do the ball of yarn, and we're just about done. And when you're drawing the yarn, you want to think about it in a 3D sort of term. So don't make the yarn pieces flat. They're going to be rounded. And they don't have to line up perfectly either, because they tend not to be. But you do want to make sure they are about the same size. The yarn is not going to change thickness in the ball. And you don't want to over detail it either. You can just give suggestion of further windings as you go around. I'm going to outline the outside here, so it's a little bit more defined from the rest of her. One of these days I'll do a tutorial on line weight. But if you're curious, there are lots of them on YouTube already anyway. I'm going to squish this together here. And again, it's okay, it doesn't have to be perfect. That's what erasers are for. You can come back and edit as needed. Alright, there we go. Let's fix this here. And I'll give her tail a little bit of a color change at the tip. There we go. And put a little plane under here so she's actually sitting on something instead of just floating in the air. There we go. And let's get everything the same color. There we go. And there you have it, an anime cat girl. At least the cute version. I will do another tutorial doing the slide version later. But I hope you've all enjoyed this tutorial. I look forward to hearing your comments and suggestions on future tutorials. Again, you can check out my website at www.cybercatgraphics.com, or you can visit me on DeviantArt, and it's lady-cybercat. I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.